Hey guys, it's Eddie, and first of all I just wanted to introduce you to this new channel called Eddie Reviews, in case you hadn't guessed already, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about it. So what I hope for this channel is that it's going to be all about movie reviews. So if you already know me from my Tumblr account 80s Time Warp, you'll know that I am crazy obsessed with movies, and I hoped for this channel, since my Tumblr is more 80s bound, that I could sort of transfer my obsession with all things cinema and broaden it into doing some reviews for you guys. So hopefully here on this channel I'll be basically publishing my opinions on movies that I've watched, movies that you guys will have suggested to me, because I'm always open to suggestions. Being the film buff I am, I'm always happy to explore new realms of cinema, and maybe there'll be some other videos, like some uni vlogs. I'm just about to start university, so maybe I'll be documenting my new experiences here for you guys if any of you guys are interested. And also maybe there'll be some like advice videos, like I don't know yet though, we'll have to see. But yes, let's just get straight on to the first review of this channel. And there's been a lot of controversy about this movie, and I saw it not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind. And the first movie that we'll be reviewing on this channel is Suicide Squad, starring Margot Robbie, Will Smith and Jared Leto. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, I thought that this movie I quite enjoyed it when I went to see it in the cinema. I thought that since there had been a lot of negative reviews about it from sites like Rotten Tomatoes, I know there was a whole situation with DC fans and Rotten Tomatoes, and I went into the cinema not really having great hopes for the film, because I knew a lot of people were thoroughly disappointed, and I can understand why they were, because I recently rewatched the first San Diego Comic-Con trailer that was released. It was actually the trailer that first got me really wanting to see the movie, and I do agree that we were sold from that first trailer a much darker film than we were given. And I know that there had to be like a last minute change from Warner Brothers to try and turn it into a comedy and all that kind of stuff, but I actually don't think that the outcome that we got was necessarily terrible. I do agree it was a little bit patchy in places. I thought the plot was a little bit messy and rushed, but before we get into the full analysation, let's just first of all talk about the performances. Now, the three most notable performances were, first of all, Will Smith as Deadshot. Now, I thought that since the film was turned so rapidly and forcibly into a comedy, I thought that Will Smith as Deadshot, you know, this lovable rogue, you know, a criminal that you can't help but love, I thought that he landed most of the jokes. I thought that he was the funniest out of them all. While they're still being underneath this like witty, nonchalant character, there was this still, you know, vulnerable guy that really wanted the best for his daughter, and I thought that was a really nice aspect to put in the film. I thought it helped us humanise him, which kind of occurred with a lot of the characters actually, and I guess that's what made them so endearing in a weird way. But yeah. And second of all, we had Margot Robbie as the infamous Harley Quinn. Now, I'm a huge Harley Quinn fan, and I have a few friends that are too, and I thought that Margot was really exceptional as Harley. I felt like she'd just been pulled straight out of the comics. I thought she was just fantastic. you know, there was all this stuff about her being over sexualized in the movie, and while I do think some sort of lingering camera shots were a little bit unnecessary, I don't think they took anything away from her fantastic acting. There were a few moments, I don't know if it was the lines that she'd been given, but I do think like some of them were a little bit cringy, some of them fell a little bit flat, but I do think Margot's performance overall was the perfect balance between the adorable and the dangerous, and I think she, you know, portrayed Harley really well, and she still came across as, even as a unruly psychopath, she still came across as lovable, and I think that helped because of her, you know, the scenes with her relationship with the Joker. Speaking of whom, I thought that Jared Leto was a great Joker. Now, hold on. I know that some people are kind of like, oh, his performance wasn't the best. Is he the worst Joker ever? I don't think so, because I think if we look back to the first Batman movie, Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, and we look at Jack Nicholson's Joker, and then we look at Heath Ledger's Joker from 2008's The Dark Knight, I think we see two different aspects of the Joker. I always perceive, you know, the original Joker to be sort of a comic mobster, and then in The Dark Knight I see him as sort of erratic criminal, and then Jared Leto's Joker I perceive to be a really psychotic gangster. And I think this might perhaps be the most sort of unhinged we've seen the Joker, and I thought that each spin that has been put on the Joker I've really liked. I don't think he was you know, taking it too far, or because you can always take it pretty far with the Joker, I mean, come on. And being a big fan of the Joker myself, I think that he did a really good job. Obviously he had huge shoes to fill with Heath Ledger's posthumously Oscar awarded performance, and I think that hopefully he'll be able to shine a little more in a separate maybe Batman and Joker movie, because I think obviously what we saw of the Joker was limited, but what I did see of him really intrigued me, and I think that's credit to Leto's performance. And I do think the scenes with him and Harley were perhaps the best in the entire movie. I think to some degree they really saved what could have been a total disaster. So there's that. And now, so if we're talking about the movie in a general sense, I thought some definite good points, some real pros of the movie overall was that I thought the cast had great energy, great chemistry. I think they worked really well together. The sort of on-screen banter, if you will, was great, and it added a really good, you know, fun, quirky element to the movie. So yeah, I thought they interacted really well. They really gave something interesting to the movie. I thought that the soundtrack was good. I thought that sort of it added a sort of air of excitement to the movie, and I thought, you know, those sort of familiar tracks that we all know, sort of like Bohemian Rhapsody, helped to contribute a little bit of humour, and also helped us sort of familiarise ourselves with the characters, because it was fun, all these familiar songs being used, and new ones of course, to sort of introduce us to each character. So especially when like Amanda Waller was talking and we had the different profiles flashing up on screen for each character as they were introduced, I thought the soundtrack was sort of spliced really well with the sort of introductions of the characters. I sort of, if we're moving on to cons of the movie, I will say that while I did love the cinematic imagery used to portray Harley and the Joker, I do think their relationship was a little bit too romanticised for my liking. I know from the comic universe that, as many of you guys will, it's not the most pleasant relationship in the world. And I do wish that perhaps if they'd spent more time on the Joker, which I guess was a blessing and a curse if you think of it, that while he didn't dominate the movie and it sort of kept us intrigued enough to want to see him in his own feature, which I guess will be good for DC, hopefully. You know, it didn't let us fully explore Harley and the Joker enough, and it didn't give us enough time, I guess, for that aspect of their relationship to be really tastefully and well explored. But hopefully if DC do another movie involving the two of them, then it can be. But like I said, perhaps had there been more Harley and Joker scenes, the film would have had a better tone overall, despite the fact that I still enjoyed it. Another con that I would like to point out is possibly Enchantress as a character. Now, as a character, she's very intriguing, you know, she's a 6,000-year-old witch, whatever. And I do think that while Cara Delevingne's performance fit really well with the tone of the film, I do think that when she was possessed as Enchantress, you know, June Moon was gone, you know, she was completely taken over. I do think that the CGI used around her was a little bit weird, like giving her this you know, she was illuminated in this like CGI glow, and I thought it looked a little bit, you know, sort of patchy and cheap. And especially when she was doing that like weird like gyrating thing when she was building her machine, it was a little bit weird for me. I thought they could have sort of done without that very out of place minor detail, but that's just my opinion. And as I mentioned briefly before, I thought the plot involving Enchantress was quite, you know, rushed and not properly thought out. I thought it could have been sort of maybe more accurately developed or explained, because we just seemed to be plunged into it. And there were moments where I was getting a little bit confused, and it was just, you know. So overall, while I think that the script was a little bit flat and rushed, I thought that, you know, it still made me laugh. I still had a good time watching it, you know, and I thought that maybe primarily from the delivery of the cast, which worked really well together, as I said earlier. I will say that I completely understand people and fans' disappointment of us not getting the film that we were originally marketed. I understand that, but I think the film as a finished and final product possibly wasn't as bad as I was expecting and as what people had said, but that's just my opinion. You know, take that however you will. If you disagree, that's absolutely fine. The great thing about cinema is that, you know, not everyone agrees, and that is just an opportunity for great debate. And I always enjoy hearing and listening to and seeing other people's opinions on movies, because it just casts a different light on it, and it's always interesting to see how other people view a movie. And I think in this case it will definitely split people. I thought it was good, I enjoyed it, but again, there were some parts of the movie, there were some aspects of the movie that fell short. And was it the best film? Not in my opinion. I think if I had to rate it out of 5, I would give it probably 3 stars at a push. But I think if it's one to just watch if you're bored or you need picking up or something like that. I think it's sort of an adrenaline filled, you know, funny superhero movie that literally feels like you've just walked right into a comic book, and I like the uniqueness of that. But again, it had its good points, it had its bad points, and I do think that it may not be as bad as some people say, but that was just my opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am so excited about this channel, honestly. I cannot wait to do more reviews for you guys. I can't wait to hear your suggestions. If you want to suggest a movie for me to review, I'll leave a link to my Tumblr. You can message me on there if you already follow me, blah blah blah. And but if you want to message or suggest a movie for me to review here, just leave a suggestion in the comments below, and I will of course check them out and do them as soon as possible. Thank you guys for watching. Bye!